Both sides. Woo! How about that one?
That's our new leaders right there.
Big Silly!
University of Montevallo, 24-96. National champions, Wallace State, Briar and Clinton. Hey there, everybody. Welcome into another new episode of the Rapala We Are Collegiate Bass Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Curry. Today being joined by anglers from Simpson University. Nathan Phillips and Ty Manterola are both on the phone with us here today. We're going to talk about a past tournament here back in June, one of the first events to count towards this season's cycle of the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. Simpson University had teams finish first and second in the standings. So with the new points rules for this year, they earn points for each of those top two teams. That's 2,490 points to count towards the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. So they're going to be in good shape when those first standings come out there in August. Let's go ahead and pull Nathan in here first. Nathan, you guys, yourself and Jaden fishing together, finished in first place, 24 pounds, 7 ounces out there on the California Delta. I believe we've talked to you maybe before, had you on for some different things, wintertime tournament, different stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure that that's a lake that you're very familiar with and comfortable on, that fishery rather. Talk a little bit about what went down that weekend, and were you surprised with how things turned out, or is that about what you expected, 24 pounds, 7 ounces?
So I fished there for about 5 years. Really only for tournaments, but it's honestly a place once you get experience on it, it's all starts to come together, being able to pattern what the fish are doing and how they're setting up. But my biggest problem there has been able to, replicate what I do in pre-fish. I usually have a good pre-fish there, and I can't seem to do it in a tournament. So, in practice, the first day we went way up north, tried frogging and, flipping and throwing a chatterbait and stuff, just the normal deal. And it wasn't going on up there. So the next day, I like to split it half and half in practice, go up north one day, go south the next. And, next day I went down south, and, we caught them doing a bunch of different things, flipping, punching, Senko, drop shot. Pretty much anything we threw, we kind of caught them, but it wasn't, the most consistent thing for better bites was throwing a chatterbait. I just really had to parallel everything, and I kept getting good, consistent bites. And so, going into the tournament, that's all I was just going to put the chatterbait in my hand and not put it down. And we pulled up into this one marina down south, and I lost like a 4.5 pounder in practice, and then caught a couple like 3 pounders. And so I just figured we'd start in there on the incoming tide, and I'll just work it as good as I can. And our first fish was the big one, and it was like a 6-something. I think it was almost 7. And then the next fish was like a 5.5. And after those 2 fish, it was kind of hard to leave. So I kind of did a couple more rounds in that marina and caught 2 more. And then it got to the top of the tide, and I usually don't like fishing it when it's at the top. So I left, let it switch, and I came back in there and, caught 5 more fish and culled up to 24 pounds or whatever we had. And, I was hoping for over 20 pounds, but, I didn't even think we had 24.5. So no, I was stoked. I was hoping for 20. So to get 24 was really nice.
All right, Ty, we heard how Jaden and Nathan got after it there on the California Delta. Yourself, fishing alone, had 16 pounds and 11 ounces. That was good enough for second place. Walk us through, kind of like he did right there, what was your game plan that day? Were you kind of surprised by how everything turned out to end up there in second place, or was it about par for what you expected coming out of practice?
Yeah, so for me, it was my first time ever fishing the Delta. So I knew how big of a fishery it is, and so I tried to focus on one section of the area and just try to dial that section in, and I committed to down south from the first day of practice. And I was catching them really good in practice, throwing a sprinkler frog, which is a fast-moving frog, and a Senko. And I felt like I had a pretty good game plan. I started figuring out some areas and kind of what to look for on certain tides. And I caught one almost 7 in practice, caught a 5.5 in practice, and I was feeling really good about it. I actually didn't throw a chatterbait at all in practice. And but in practice, the winds were calm and sunny. You know, it was a lot more stable conditions. And then when tournament day rolled around, it started blowing pretty hard. And so the topwater bite for me just didn't really happen. I missed one on a sprinkler frog early in the morning, but I didn't have fish in the well about 9 o'clock, and I just trash canned my entire pattern that I had going from practice and picked up a chatterbait and started just going through those same areas. I felt like we're holding a lot of fish and started getting bit right away on a chatterbait as well. And then I ended up just doing the same thing as Nathan, just locking a chatterbait in my hand, paralleling saddles and flooded islands, and he actually was throwing a half ounce, kind of trying to get it down on the deeper edges. I was burning it over grass with a 3/8 ounce, and I saw every single fish I weighed eat it. So it's kind of funny that we both threw the same bait, but we're doing something completely different with it. And yeah, I caught my big one, caught one almost 6 pounds that I weighed on a little bit deeper hyacinth mat, just paralleling it, and then the rest of them I was just burning it over flooded grass on tules and stuff. And yeah, I honestly thought I only had like 14 pounds coming in. So when I weighed in 16:11, I was happy with it. You know, the way practice went, I was expecting myself to do well, and for never being there and getting second place, I was happy with it. I was hoping to do a little better, but I don't think I was around as big of a bag as Nathan was. So I was content with second place.
Goes a long ways, counts towards the Best Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia for a total of 2,490 points for Simpson University, finishing in first and second there at the MLF Western Conference event on the California Delta. Let's talk tidal fisheries real quick. For people in the middle part of the country, they have just about no clue what we're fixing to talk about, so let's educate them some. Nathan, talk a little bit about how the tides change, what times those happen, varying upon conditions and things, and then subsequently, what does that do to the fish on a high and a low tide?
Yeah, so a big thing fishing down there is paying attention to the tide. So, I mean, on our ranch units, we have the tide chart, and so you have to pay attention because you're going to have incoming water and outgoing water. So on the incoming tide, you're obviously getting water, so more water's coming in, and then outgoing, it's going out, so you're having less water. So you know, it's really it's weird. So on that incoming and at the top of it and stuff, you have a lot more water. So the grass has water over the top of it. There's water behind the grass. There's water way back up into the trees and the hyacinth mats and this, that, the other. And low tide, it's going to suck out. And then a lot of that water that was back way up in all that junk, there's no more water in there. And so now you have a nice weed edge. It's honestly, you know, for a lot of people, it's easier to fish a low tide because the targets are more visual. So it's a little bit easier to fish. But to me, the biggest thing with the current is just how those fish orientate themselves. I mean, the fish on the Delta position themselves in places that they don't have to move. So, I mean, they're in one spot, and if you don't get that bait in front of that fish's face in that one spot that fish is at, it's probably not going to bite. And that's what makes the Delta so difficult. You know, those bigger fish, they have their spot, and they're going to sit there until a bluegill or whatever decides to swim in front of their face. But yeah, I mean, you can, it's one way or the other sometimes. Sometimes they only bite on the high tide. Sometimes they only bite on the low tide. But it's all related to the ocean, obviously. But, yeah, you kind of got to plan around it. So, I mean, sometimes you don't get a very good tide or you don't get a very good swing for the day that you're fishing. So that's another big factor. And the other big factor too is the Delta is so wide, it's so big, and that you can chase the tide. So if you're on a good high tide bite, you can kind of try to chase it, chase the waters, kind of what we say. So I mean, you're running around. You can run around all over the place chasing, you know, the water level that you want. And a lot of guys do really well there chasing that water. For me personally, this last tournament, luckily I didn't have to. I mean, most of the time we fished, we had a lot of water, and that allowed me to fish the way I wanted. You know, by the end of the day, by the time we needed to go in, we were close to bottom of the tide. But yeah, I mean, it really just, that tide really just positions the fish in certain areas, and you have to be able to work, pretty thoroughly through some of those spots. And honestly, I think the tide will make you a much better and thorough fisherman than just fishing a normal body of water. You have to pick stuff apart, and I don't know, it's a different fishery, and at first it can be difficult, but once you get it, it's fun.
Ty, for yourself, you said that was your first time to go down there. So now that we've heard Nathan kind of break down how the tidal fishery is set up, if this was something new to you, talk about how you went about tackling that. And I know you touched on it a little in your first response, explaining how you picked one area instead of trying to cover the vast fishery and you dialed in one specific area. What went into that thought process? So kind of as to wrap up, surmise the question there, talk a little bit about the fishery being new to you, what the tidal aspect of it played into it, and then in regards to your decision making, what were some factors you took into account to say, hey, I'm going to keep this simple and try and do as best I can in one spot?
Yeah, so I just picked out about a 10-mile region of the Delta to stick in, and I think one big key, like Nathan touched on, is understanding how those fish position based on certain tides. So every time I would catch one or shake one in practice, when I would waypoint it, I'd waypoint it with what the water level was. And I think that was a big key for me, because it makes you understand, what to look for on certain water levels. I would look over my maps and kind of remember where those waypoints were and understand what I was looking at when the certain water levels were coming in. And not just water level, but water current is a big key anywhere you go. So I live on the Columbia River, and that's my home body of water. And one big thing we always do here is when we catch a smallmouth, we let our boat drift in the current. And whatever speed we're going, if you can duplicate that speed with similar cover, you can normally start to pattern them. So for me on the Delta, when I caught my first big one, I just let my boat drift. And I noticed that I was going 0.7 mile an hour. So I started to look for that speed. It honestly didn't matter for me what type of cover or depth it was. As long as I had that certain speed going, I was able to get bit. So I think that the current with the tides is a big deal too. Because those fish, they want to be around current, but they don't want to be in the current, if that makes sense. That's why they use the cover so heavily, the grass and everything else, so they can sit behind that and just ambush stuff that comes by. And like Nathan said, the bigger fish, I think they like that steeper stuff, that deeper water access stuff, just because they don't have to move like the tides. They can kind of stay in the same spot.
Continuing our conversation here with Nathan Phillips and Ty Manterola from Simpson University there in Redding, California. Finished last year's Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia in 44th place. Made it over to the AFCO Open, saw those guys at Lake Darnell, earned some points there, and then as always doing well out on the Western Conference of the MLF, as we're talking about here, as they kicked off this new season, earning 2,490 points with first and second place finishes at the California Delta there the first part of June. Nathan, let's talk real quick about that School of the Year race. We've changed up a little bit of the program details this year, so something that is going to play a factor is now not only at ACA events, but at all majors for Bass, MLF, and the ACA. Schools are able to earn double points, so that's why we're emphasizing here. You guys first and second. Last season you would have just gotten first place points. This year you add the second place points, you almost double what you earn. So 2,490 points there. Talk a little bit about the significance of starting the season off well with the first and second place finish. It's a maximum number of points you can earn, and what that will do for the team going forward this year as y'all try to gain some confidence, build up some steam, and improve upon last year's 44th place finish.
Yeah, it's, obviously, if it's the best you can do, it's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to always keep improving on our points, our ranking. And, but, for us, there's only so much we can do for the points, so we got to get them whenever we can. So, being able to add, the second place finishes is a huge help. Like I said, we're only able to go back east so much, and we're actually looking in, going towards the future, being able to go back east and fish some more ACA events and get some more points to, keep climbing those ranks. It just sets us up nice for the rest of the year. Hopefully we can get a couple more wins. So, it'd be nice for every tournament to get a first and second and, get as many points as possible, but we'll see how the year goes. We got a really good group of guys pretty much dominating this side of the division. So, if we can continue just doing what we're doing, I think we're going to keep improving our rank every single year, especially as we get more guys going back east. And hopefully we can keep improving on our finishes back there. But we're gonna have a bigger group of guys this upcoming year. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think we have a good shot of hopefully finishing in the top 30 this next year.
Simpson University, like we said, located out in Redding, California. Been around for a couple years, worked with Alex on helping get a couple school run events, try and set up out there, get some momentum going out on the West Coast. There's good teams out there, good fishermen. You hear these guys talk today, and they've got a lot of good stuff to say. Very knowledgeable anglers, diverse fishermen as well as the conditions and stuff out there on the West Coast. You get a little bit of everything. You got them up shallow, you got them in tidal fisheries. Some lakes have grass, some are deep and rocky, you name it. They're seasoned veteran anglers that are skilled and ready to compete on the national level. Nathan, talk real quick about being a part of the team there at Simpson. Coach Alex does a good job. You're talking about the team growing. You guys have made it out to a few of our events, seen a lot of good presence on social media, and just getting out and making noise for collegiate bass fishing as a whole. Talk about what it means to be a part of the team there at Simpson, the support from coach, your family, friends, teammates, and the school also.
It's honestly been a great experience. This year I'm going to be a senior, so it's going to be my last year, and I'm looking forward to having a good year, and I'm a little sad about it, but it's honestly been a great opportunity to be able to continue to build on my skills and keep competing without putting everything on the line pretty much. And Simpson does a great job of supporting us. With helping us get back east, helping us fish all these tournaments. We get a lot of support, and we probably wouldn't be able to do what we do without our school. And so I know me and probably all the other guys are very thankful for everything they've done for us. Alex has done a great job. He's been on top of everything, and he's continued to look into the future and try to make this program as good as it can be. And I'm one of the team captains, so I've been right there with him most of the time. And as a team, we collaborate on everything. We work together, make sure everything we're doing is making sure we're taking the right steps, making sure we're taking steps in the right direction, and steps that everybody wants to take. We don't want to push people to do things they don't want to do. And for everybody, it's not in the cards to go back east 2 or 3 times a year. If you're trying to balance school and fish and work and everything you have going on, some people just can't. It's just almost impossible to do. And so we're trying to give everybody the best opportunity they can have to improve themselves as an angler, improve themselves as a person. That's one of our big things at Simpson is, we're not just building fishermen. We're trying to build people, trying to build their character. We want everybody, that comes and fishes on our team to not just improve as an angler, but to hopefully improve and just everyday life skills. We have so many opportunities through Simpson to help you with your future. even just creating a job application, because most schools nowadays don't teach you how to do that. So, it's been a great experience, and I'm looking forward to the future of this program, and being part of it from the beginning has been really cool. And I know Alex is going to continue to improve on this school, and it's also cool trying to be a part of the school that is trying to make everything happen out here. We're really trying to grow the West Coast, because there's so many anglers out here, and there's so much opportunity to fish out here that we're just not really trying to let it slip. So we're really pushing for that, and I'm hopefully in the next few years we can get more schools involved and a lot more kids. I know in the high school scene there's a lot of kids that are looking forward to trying to fish in college, and unfortunately not every kid can come to Simpson, so we're trying to make sure that any kid that wants to have the opportunity to fish can go to a school and fish and compete on the collegiate level.
That's awesome. Great initiative there. We'll be keeping an eye out there on the West Coast. Hope to see you guys there from Simpson at an event or two of ours this upcoming season as well. Nathan, Ty, thanks for taking the time to join me on the phone here today. Great talking with y'all. Good luck this upcoming season, this upcoming school year, and we'll hope to talk to y'all again soon.
Thank you.
Fishing is all about connecting with nature. Then grabbing nature by the lip and holding it up for a picture.
To fishermen and other liars, the time you spent on the docks, the banks, the boats, the lines you cast, and the hooks you set. These moments you share with the people you love, the fish you never forget, and the tales that get taller with every retelling. Make memories that'll last a lifetime with Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.